Well, here we are. This is the final interview I've done. You're the last one of all the city council candidates and your opponent in the mayoral race. This is the final one. That I'm so excited for this. Before I get going, I should say, in case if nobody knows, this is Mayor Bob Trainor from Charlestown, the sitting mayor who is running for mayor again. Before I get into anything else, I really wanted to go on the record and say I am a huge fan of your Zoom backgrounds on all the city council meetings.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, seeing this is really great right now. This is the thrill of a lifetime to see the blue skies behind you. What I'm wondering about to begin is kind of why you would like to be mayor again. What made you want to run for re-election?
Well, we've started a number of initiatives over the past 2 years, and I would like to kind of see those come to fruition to improve our city. I think I've done a fairly good job, and I think that I can continue to improve Charlestown. And my whole goal is to bring people together. That's kind of my whole theme. It has been really since I've been on the city council, but certainly these past 2 years, been very, very challenging, as you know. So I think that I would like to kind of finish some of the things, the initiatives that we started on, the charter, the homeless committee mission, and just to see those infrastructure. I can go on and on and on, so I won't take time, but it's really just kind of see some of these things come to fruition.
I'm glad you brought those things, especially the charter, because it felt like the charter, you guys felt pretty good for a while that it would be on the ballot this time around. And from what I understand, it's not going to be on the ballot. How did you come to that conclusion that it wasn't going to be on the ballot? Does that disappoint you? Do you think that there was anything you could have done? It's
hugely disappointing. Yeah, I think the whole process is very complex, especially for a simple mind like mine. We did get some legal input early on. We've been working on this pretty steadily for the last 2 years, and really on and off, or off and on rather, for a couple of years prior to that. But I actually instituted a commission, a mayoral commission, to actually work on the charter. So we were getting legal advice along the way. And as we were getting nearer and nearer for completion, we had public hearings, and we had a couple of workshops with the city council, and then the first and second reading. Actually, we're all excited about that. There was some legal issues that weren't completely resolved, and dusting off the law books there and the law there in Charleston, we decided that we had to cross a couple of T's and dot some I's, and not the least of which is to have a charter commission. Basically, what's a couple of people have to come from the citizens. They have to have like 200 signatures on a petition. They have to have a petition. Then the city council appoints this commission, and then they only have 90 days to come up with a charter or a charter amendments. So we've done a lot of the work leading up to it. We actually have, I would say, we're probably 90% or 95% there is the actual written document. Now it's a matter of making sure that we follow all the legal procedures to make sure that we once we vote on the charter and it gets passed, hopefully, that'll be a valid charter. And am I disappointed? Oh yeah. But if I'm reelected, naturally, that's going to be right up the top of my priority list. And I think maybe whoever is reelected, I would think that, or who's ever elected rather, I think that would be a high priority for them. You also mentioned the homeless committee, and that was a really big thing. You talked about the disappointment with the charter, but the homeless committee, you finished that, you put out the report. Do you feel a lot better about that issue? Yeah, but yes, absolutely. I mean, we were delayed because of COVID, but we were actually able to get this report out. And the report itself, the last part of the report, over half of it, is really all those resources that are available to help people. And so right now, though, we're in the process of making sure that we can follow through on the recommendations from the homeless committee. And I'll tell you what, it's been really good because we have partnership and buy-in from all the municipalities. The county commission is very excited. So I think that we can bring this thing to fruition and actually make a difference here, not only in Charlestown, but in Jefferson County, and maybe kind of be an example throughout the state, and who knows?
I think it was the last Jefferson County Commission meeting where you were there talking about creating a position. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And so is that something you said you could do it yourself in terms of Charlestown, but you kind of wanted buy-in from everybody, I think was what you had told the commissioners, and they seemed pretty positive on it. Is there any more headway in that?
Yeah, I think their issue is funding, the funded position. But I think if we all partner, we can come up with the funding or come up with a position to fill that. But if let's say Charlestown or Ranson or Oliver or Harpers Ferry, any of those, or Shepherdstown or any of those municipalities did it on their own, they would only have the authority of that municipality per se. That's why I think it's important to have that authority at the county level. They're very excited about it. I thought it was a pretty good meeting. I'm sure that you listened to it. It's just a matter of sitting down and hammering out the details. I don't want to wait until fiscal year 23 because we've already, worked on fiscal year 22 budget, which starts in July. And I think we can start doing something very, very soon, even if it's not a budget line item for the county commission at this point.
Is there a fear if you were to not come out on the winning side of this election, is there a fear that something like this would be swept away, that the next governing body would follow through with all that? Is that something that worries you?
I don't know. I think my opponent he's committed also to, to fixing the situation. We've done an awful lot of work, on the homeless committee. So I have a little bit of corporate knowledge, if you will, on where we're at. But I still think it'll go through. I mean, we have to do something about it. So
yeah. So I want to go back to, and I go into the notepad because I was reading up on some things before this. And you came into being mayor kind of after, how long has your term been? Like 1 year, 2 years, something like that?
It's been 2 years. I was reelected for Ward 4 representative 2 years ago. And then right at that transition, our current mayor, who was Scott Rogers, he had to resign. I think he moved to Oregon with his wife. I think she's a veterinarian or something like that. So I was the mayor pro tem. So I presided over the meetings, and we solicited for a mayor, and I put in for that job, and then the city council elected me to be the mayor until this election, this cycle.
I had read that there was a previous mayor who resigned because he received threats due to Rockwool. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I don't really know because he didn't sit down and tell me this is why I'm resigning. But I know that is, I know his wife is a veterinarian. I'm almost sure that she's a veterinarian, some type of professional along those lines. And and she moved to Oregon. So he's with her in Oregon. So not sure. I've heard that rumor, but he's never sat down and said, listen, I'm going to resign because of threats.
Have you, and that kind of transitions into just kind of general thoughts on Rockwool. There's nothing, obviously, Rockwool's happening. That they're gonna go full steam ahead here, I think, next month, really get into full-time production. But do you think that's a good thing for the area? Do you think it's a good thing for Charlestown, or did you oppose it? What was your position on Rockwool?
Well, I think the jury's still out on Rockwool. Just my personal opinion was, we like to have jobs come into the county, but maybe there was a different type of situation or a different job provider that would have been a little bit better, a better fit for the area. But I've toured their facility. I've talked to the president and all their engineers over there, and we actually, right after I was appointed mayor, we had a forum up at Charles Washington Hall to actually air a bunch of the concerns that the citizens had with plumbing issues and stuff like that. I think it probably went on for an hour or so, hour and a half. It was very good give and take, sort of a town hall atmosphere. Again, I love the pristine nature of Jefferson County. So I'm not sure how it's going to impact it ecologically, but I'm pretty sure that company, from what I can have talked to the individuals and actually had a couple of site not inspections, of course, but site tours. I think they do everything in their possible and in their power to remain quote unquote green. I don't think they want to destroy Jefferson County any more than any of the rest of us want to destroy. And it's a kind of when I first heard what they do, because I didn't even know what rock wool was, but when I first heard about what they do, it sounded a little more environmentally friendly than, as opposed to using fiberglass and stuff like that for insulation. So I think the jury's still out. Our concern and how we were pulled into it, besides being citizens of Jefferson County, of course, was the utilities, the sewer system and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very concerned to make sure that what we've been told that is going to be in the sewer system is actually in the sewer system. We have a bunch of protocols in place to ensure that that's the case. So I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll be okay.
Cautiously optimistic is a good place to be.
Right.
So another thing that when I think about rock wool, that's one of the big issues. The other thing that I've been asking everybody about, of course, is the casino in Charlestown. It's one of the hallmarks of the area. You get visitors all the time, although it can be tough to get them to go from the casino to downtown, from what I understand. Do you think the casino, and I know that you guys have done a great job sort of weaning yourself off of the casino money and being more responsible with that. And we've talked about that, I think, a long time ago. But do you consider the casino a good thing or a bad thing for Charlestown as a city?
I think it could be a much better thing for Charlestown. Let's put it that way.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, as you pointed out, it brings a lot of people in, but it seems like that's where they stop, right? Don't go further into town and stuff like that. So I think that one of the things we can do better, and I put myself in this list of doing better, is promoting Charlestown. So like you say, we have a lot of out-of-state visitors come into the casino. That's a draw, but there's a lot of history and a lot of cool things in Charlestown. I'd love them to come to Charlestown or this area, not just because of the casino, but okay, hey, there's Charles Washington's Hall here. It says Happy Retreat, or excuse me, Charles Washington's home rather, at Happy Retreat. Let's go visit that. We have the John Brown trial at the county courthouse. There's so much history here that we can really, I hesitate to say capitalize on, but we can certainly do better by promoting ourselves and still keep Charlestown this sweet, quaint little town that we are, but have people basically share our history with people.
Now, you had mentioned another piece that I read when you came into being the mayor. You said one of the things you wanted to do was patch up some what you call donut holes. And I'm not quite sure what that meant, but if you want to explain that, that would be great. And then, of course, the question would be, do you think you've done that since you've been mayor?
Sure. Well, I can answer the second question first. No, I haven't been able to do that. What I'm referring to is the donut holes. If you look at a map at Charlestown, and maybe even Ransom for that matter, it looks like a counterpane. So what I could be driving from the city, I'm in the county, then I'm back in the city, then I'm in the county. So it's like a patchwork of municipal boundaries, if you will. Mm-hmm. Our idea was, and before I became mayor, probably, I would say maybe 4 years ago or thereabouts, we had an annexation plan that was rejected by the county. I don't know if you remember that or not, but there was this big issue of, well, wait a minute, if we have an urban growth boundary and the municipalities are able to expand within that urban growth boundary, what's going on with the county commission and all that, or the county's input and all that. So there was a lot of confusion on the different roles of the municipalities and the county, and actually the law, the ordinances, the state ordinances contradicted each other. So what we've done in the meantime, we haven't filled in any of the holes, although we have annexed some property in for different things. We've actually gone to the state legislature and says, listen, if you want us to be able to expand within our urban growth boundary, and the whole idea with the urban growth boundary was to keep urban growth within a certain boundary, right? Because we're an agricultural state and county. So we need to clean up the language so you don't go to section A and then go to section C and contradicts what section A just said.
Yeah.
In essence, the way the law was written, it was more difficult to annex land in the urban growth boundary than it would be to annex land in if you weren't in an urban growth boundary. It seems counterintuitive.
Do you think, would you consider the relationship that Charlestown has with Ransom, because you're so close, and like you said, you can have one step and you're in Ransom, the next step you're in Charlestown, and also the relationship you have with Jefferson County as a whole. Do you think Charlestown currently has a good relationship with those things, or they could be better, or where does that stand to you?
I think our relationship with Ransom and the county, and I think the other municipalities, is great. We've, like, this COVID thing has kind of brought us all together. That's one of the very few positive things from the whole COVID experience. But we work very closely with Ransom. We have the joint Christmas deal, with Ransom, and then the county commissioner is just very, very receptive to what we're doing. And I think, so two things with the county is we were able to, COVID, of course, brought us closer together. But the other thing was the homeless committee. We started out with just Charlestown and Ransom, and then more and more people got interested in the county commission, to their credit, was just like, hey, this is some good stuff. Let's get involved as well. So I would say that the quick answer is we get along pretty well with the other municipalities, and certainly the county. I think it's pretty good. I hope to get it better. Obviously, we can always improve, but I think everybody's talking, and that's important.
I want to go to voter turnout, because that seems to be an issue. I think I had seen somewhere, or somebody told me that last election, there was less than 10% of people came out to vote. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Yeah, we had somewhere around 400 or so. We have somewhere in between 4,400 and 4,600 registered voters.
So to what do you attribute that? Do you think there are reasons behind that?
Yeah, I think it's, first of all, the election day is on a Thursday. It follows about 6 months after the national election, which everybody's, in tune with and up for. But, and so it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, if you will. There's also only one polling place at City Hall. So there's not, we don't have different precincts and stuff like that. Our goal was to, and basically as a council, was to let's get at least 1,000 people to vote. And that's only 20%.
Yeah.
5%, but still that's a huge difference between 400, or I think when I ran the first time, we had probably about 620 voters, and it was a great turnout. But the reason it was such a good turnout was the fact that all of the candidates, every race was contested, and the candidates were actually knocking on doors, and people were interested in the local race. So I'm hoping that's what we're doing now. Again, and I tell people, look, I'd love your support, but if you just come out and vote, just come out and vote. If you even vote for my opponent, that's fine. I really want to get the numbers, and I'm sure the rest of the council does as well, and get the numbers up to at least 1,000. I'd love to have like 50% voter turnout. That would be awesome. I'd like to really work those people down at City Hall.
Do you think that speaks to, or that could be indicative of the engagement of the community, and if there is a lack of engagement? Like, for as long as I've been covering Charlestown, mostly it's been on Zoom because of the pandemic, and I got here very not far before that. Are there a lot of people who typically come to meetings? Do you get a lot of emails? How is that? Where do you think the public is in terms of being engaged with its government?
Well, it depends on the issue, of course. If there's a hot button issue, like Rockwell, for example, a lot of people came out and did the public comment there. So there's two rules of thought, though, really. If nobody's complaining a lot, or if there's not a whole lot of people complaining, you must be doing something right.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should rest on those laurels. We should certainly get more engagement, because I'll tell you one thing I've really, knocking on doors and stuff like that can be kind of a pain in the neck, because you're doing it every day. But it's also a very, very great experience, because I get to meet all these people again. I'm meeting for the first time, and I'm hearing these issues that, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, well, let's look into that. Let's see if we can do something better. So it's been, like I said, my goal, if we knock, well, not only my goal, but the council's goal, if we knock on 2,000-3,000 doors, I don't know if there's that many doors in Charlestown, knock on those doors and get people out to vote, I think everybody benefits from doing that.
Yeah, and that was actually something. I guess the question would be, do you think, and you alluded to this before, but having a contested race for the mayor, do you think that will actually help get more people out this year?
I think so, yeah.
And that, I mean, if that's a victory in and of itself, I suppose. And if you win, of course, I have to ask you, what would be your top priority? What's the first thing you'd want to get done?
Well, I want to, again, bring to fruition some of the ideas that the homeless committee has put together, right? I want to kind of follow those through. I want to get that charter done. Really want to get that charter done because I think that's going to impact us for years and years and years. And I think the date of the last charter is 1915. And that charter was actually given to Charlestown from the state legislature. So this is kind of a charter that we would have ourselves or bring us back into bring us to the 21st century. And I think there's a lot of problems that can solve if we have a charter that's actually modern, right? To how we actually are doing business. I think the other thing that I've been hearing a lot, and we've kind of started working on it already, and that's the infrastructure. We have the flooding issues in some downtown areas, and it's been going on for a long, long time. But we've actually, so the city staff has actually gotten a contract. They've taken a look at it, both subterranean and above ground, to say, okay, what are the problems? How can we fix this? So we have a report. We're starting to kind of fix that, but first some green infrastructure on the top. But then we're going to actually delve into the infrastructure that may be 200-300 years old, the subterranean infrastructure to help on this flood. The sidewalk issue is huge. Almost everywhere I go, people are complaining about the sidewalk, and rightfully so. They're either crumbling or there is none. And we're talking like in town, there is no sidewalk. So people are walking along the streets. George Street, for example, the sidewalk, I think, stops at Hunter. We don't even have a sidewalk to our municipal building at 661. I think to address that problem, first we have to, I won't say first, but kind of a precursor to that is to fix the charter, because in the charter talks about the sidewalks, and it says the persons who's the residents or the owner of a home, the sidewalks in front of them, they're responsible for the upkeep of that sidewalk. Well, some people have the means to do that, but a lot of people don't have the means to do that. So these sidewalks keep deteriorating and deteriorating. We have to come up with a plan. We have a sidewalk and kind of a matching funds with people to help them do their sidewalks. And I'm kind of thinking, we got all this infrastructure money out there, supposedly at the state and really at the federal level. Maybe we take some of those resources and kind of point it to this problem that's been part of Charlestown for a long, long time. Maybe start solving some of those things. Those are just the three issues that come to mind right off the bat.
With the charter, real quick, would you be willing to have a special election for it if need be?
Yeah, you have to. You have to have. Well, I think what we'll have to do is, please, I don't know the details intimately, but the first election is, and it's going to be a special election, will have to be, do you want to change the charter, right? That's number one. And so when that election happens, I'm hoping whoever gets elected, I'm hoping we do a special election sometime in the late summer, early fall. And then when that's done, the city council will actually appoint this commission to work on the charter. And people, my understanding is if you want to be on the charter, you can get 200 signatures on a petition, and you could be considered to be on the charter review committee. And then they have 90 days to produce a charter. And then that goes on the ballot for approval. So there'd be, in essence, 2 special elections possible to get the charter done. Again, I really wanted it to happen in conjunction with our election here, but and that's okay. That sometimes you're going to have little setbacks like that. But okay, well, how do I get around that setback? How do we make it happen?
So if there is one thing that you wish you could have done differently during these first 2 years as being mayor, what was there anything you change?
Well, it's been a learning experience, I'll tell you that. So that I've made some missteps along the way. I don't think, I can't think of any major faux pas, although there may be, But yeah, I mean, I wish I had done a little more research on the whole charter thing. We could have got that maybe on this ballot. I mean, there's always room for improvement. I'll tell you what, let me actually answer that this way. What I'm most proud of these past 2 years is the cordiality of the city council. We may not agree on everything, but everybody's cordial and everybody treats everybody with respect. And I think that's awesome. It's a pleasure actually going to city council meetings. There's no animosity. Again, we don't agree on everything, that's for sure, but we handle that with cordiality, if I'm saying that correctly, and basically mutual respect, and we're able to compromise. And I would say, I'm just going to throw out a number, at least 90% of everything that we vote on is a consensus vote.
That's true. I've noticed that too. So that's good. You think that'll continue in the next cycle?
I cannot say. Naturally, if I'm the mayor, I hope that it will. Yeah, I think, look, there's good people running all through it. There's different personalities, of course, and I guess that's what makes the world go round. But I'm hoping that whoever is the mayor, whoever is the city council, you can keep that cordiality. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but you can keep everybody cordial, and at the same time, make sure that we're in tune to what the people in Charlestown are actually looking for.
So now to finish things up, I got to finish with some lighter things. This is where we really get to know you. I'm really excited about this because I'm interested to see what you're going to have to say. So are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the first question with all of this, with everybody, has been, if I'm going to go out and have a nice dinner in Charlestown, what would you recommend? Where should I go?
That's a very good question. Actually, there's a lot of different restaurants. I like the Italian restaurant that's actually not in Charlestown. Alfredo's is a great place to go. This is the surf and turf. And I think, yeah, I would say Alfredo's would be my number one, but I don't want to say like for breakfast, it would be maybe Grandma's Diner. And I don't want to like, put one business over another because they're all great. So it depends on what type, that's even better. It depends on what type of fare you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. I don't think anybody wants to put themselves out there and like one restaurant over the other. So I would just say I really like a good steak. Where's a good steak in Charlestown?
There's a surf and turf right over there at Alfredo's is pretty good.
Okay. All right.
And I'll tell you one thing that I really liked about being mayor is that like every month or so, I have meetings every Monday with the police chief and then the city manager after that. So every like 4 or 5 weeks, we actually meet together at some restaurant and we actually kind of have our meeting right there. So it's kind of cool to get everybody together.
With the pandemic, a lot of people had hobbies. They found things they never knew that they found. They got into something and they learned how to sew, or they learned how to crochet or something like that, or maybe they read a series of books. Was there anything over the last year and a half that you found yourself diving into that you had not previously been interested in?
To be quite honest with you, I've been pretty busy with what's going on with the city. I didn't realize, like when you're a city council person, you put in a lot of time, but as mayor, it's just like almost nonstop. My wife will attest to that. So to be honest with you, I think maybe my hobby has been be the mayor.
That's fair enough. This is a question I've wanted to ask as well. Do you have a role model? Is there anybody in your life who you really looked up to?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had many, many role models. My father, of course, was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy. My uncle was a Catholic priest who I'm named after, was a really great role model. And I've worked I did 31 years of active duty in the Coast Guard. Ran across lots of role models in the leadership positions, that I was basically working from. I was like, yeah, I want to be kind of like that,
Yeah.
So my mother obviously was a role model for me. I have an older sister and an older brother, and then I have 5 younger brothers and sisters. So at some point, they've all kind of been role models for me.
Okay.
And that actually kind of made me better because I don't want to mess up, especially my younger brothers and sisters. And I want them to say, oh yeah, well, Bob did it right, or whatever the case is.
Well, you're the mayor of a town. Of course they're going to say you did it right.
Well,
What is your favorite movie, all-time favorite movie?
all right. So it depends on the genre, right?
Okay.
if you just take everything aside and you said you have one more movie to watch before you leave this earth,
Yes.
I think it would be The Angel and the Bad Man. Have you ever heard of that movie?
Oh, what's that?
That's an old 1930s movie. It's a black and white cowboy movie. It's with John Wayne and Gail Russell. And what I like about that movie is John Wayne kind of starts off, he's a semi criminal almost, right? But he's fighting other criminals. So he's like, everything is by violence is how he's accomplishing things. Jane Russell plays the daughter of like a Mennonite family or something like that, that they kind of cross paths and she kind of nurses him to help. He actually gets shot or whatever the case is. But what I like about that movie is she didn't come and she loved John Wayne in the movie, of course. She didn't change the way she was to be the way he was. She influenced him through her love and her patience. He actually, in the end, became more peaceful like she was.
That's deep. That's the deepest answer I've received from all of this. That's great. That's fantastic.
It's a great movie if you ever watch it. It's an old, I don't know if you like John Wayne or not, but it's
Yeah.
one of the favorite John Wayne movies I have.
Okay. Wow. And I've got two more. This one, I'm really interested with your answer, especially from what you said earlier about the casino. I don't know if you're a gambler, but if you walk into the Hollywood casino, what's the one game you want to go play?
Well, I'm not a gambler. I was, when I was a young man on the ship, we used to sit down and play poker, right?
Okay.
You know,
So you go play poker?
well, I did play poker, but I lost $7.
Oh.
Back in those days, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
When my wife gave me she gave me down in the country for that. I haven't gambled since that. So I really am not interested, but I can see how people like the video poker and stuff like that. I can see how people could get sucked into playing that because if I'm sitting there with my tablet, for example, I'll start playing solitaire. Next thing I know, an hour's gone by. So
Yeah.
that would probably would kind of attract me more than anything. But I'm not a gambler because I'm not good at it.
And then finally, I have to ask you this because your opponent is so into music. He's very known around town as the guy who's really into music. So I'll ask you, who do you prefer, the Beatles or the Stones?
Wow. I'd say Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels?
No, if I had to choose, I mean, actually both of them have some pretty great stuff, you know. I just, it's hard for me to connect with those groups because of their lifestyle has been so well publicized. It's hard for me to kind of associate with either of those groups. I would say, to me, the Beatles were a little more clear cut. They had some great music. The Stones had some great music as well when I was younger. I'm kind of a country music kind of guy. So
Okay, so do you have a favorite artist, a favorite country music artist?
well, I kind of like Tom T. Hall. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't really have a favorite. I just kind of like listening to that kind of music. So
So do you have a website or a Facebook page where people can contact you or anything, potential voters? Do you have any of that online?
yeah, so I do have a Facebook page. I resurrected it from my last election because I'm really not a social media person. So there is a Facebook page, and I also have an email, trainorforcharlestown@gmail.com. And people have been sending me questions about where I stand on certain issues, and I'm able to. So far, I think I've answered every one of them. Maybe not to everybody's satisfaction, but I try to make it I make it my priority to go on that email and to answer any outstanding questions there may be. Not as good with Facebook answering the questions on there, although I think there's one or two questions that my wife has let me know that they're on there, so I have to answer those as well.
Well, hopefully you get 1,000 emails because that would mean 1,000 people are going to go vote.
I think that would be great. Wouldn't you? Listen, 1,000 is just the beginning.
I know.
Voter participation, that's for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Trainor. I really appreciate your time. I know you're so busy. This was a lot of fun. I hope you had fun, and
Yeah.
good luck with the election.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure speaking with you.